Salutations readers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today I'm giving y'all the Finally Fall book tag. I have to say, this is one of my favorite book tags, honestly, to do like every single year because I love autumn. And I think this is a great book tag for that time of year. Now, as far as the creator of this book tag, I actually do not know who the creator is. And unfortunately, I'm not able to find the original video as well, so it's most likely privated. I don't know if the original creator is just not on YouTube anymore, or it's just a private video, or it's deleted. I don't really know. But if you do know who originally created this book tag, please let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, let's just get right into it. It's very short, not a lot of questions. In fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. I tend to read a lot of atmospheric books year-round, so I already have like 2 books that actually fits for this one, because yes, this is not a usual book tag where I can just put one answer for one thing. I have to have multiple answers. This is who I am. And the books that I will answer with this question: Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas and The Familiar by Lee Bardugo. Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas has a very nice and vivid setting of, 1840s Mexico. And then in The Familiar, we have Spanish Inquisition around, what time? What was the time period again? I don't remember, but a while ago as well. They both have really, really good settings and also really good writing. So if you're here for some really good atmospheric reads, I do recommend both of these books. Nature is beautiful, but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written, but also deals with a heavy topic, like loss or grief. I also have 2 books that deals with this. Both of them deal with loss and grief, but they also have beautiful writing. Also, fun fact, both of these are debut novels. This was a debut novel, Mastrolio by Gerardo Simano Cordova, debut novel of last year, and then we have Martyr by Kaveh Akbar, debut novel of this year. Both of these are lit fic contemporary, well, actually this one is a contemporary lit fic, actually a queer lit fic actually, and then this one is a queer literary horror. So slightly different in the ways of how to deal with loss and grief, more on like the lit fic side, and this one's more leaning towards horror. So this is like grief horror. So if you're interested in some grief horror, I do recommend Monstrilio for sure. But if you're here for more something like more lit fic-y and more like a kind of like a character study, I do recommend Martyr. Fall is back to school season. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. I haven't read much nonfiction lately, but as far as like learning something like a lot of things like really new to me that I really have not learned from before, I will have to say The 100 Years' War on Palestine, A History of Settler Colonialism and Resistance 1917 to 2017 by Rashid Khalidi. This is definitely a book that I legitimately have not learned about. I learned way more through this book than I've ever had in my K-12 education. So definitely recommend. If you wanted like a really succinct but also like informative history on Palestine from the past 100 years, highly recommend this book. In order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family, household, friend group that you'd like to be a part of. I think this book is pretty easy at least an easy book as to why I would want to join this friend group. Rare by Jordan and Fueco. This pretty much just has like found family entirely. It's actually part of the premise of the story, not gonna lie. And I have to say, I really would love to be joined in this like group of people who are mostly like I think secretly linked together to protect the prince, but they genuinely have genuine connections with each other. It's not like some sort of magical bond. It's because like they actually truly care for each other and the prince cares for them. It's a whole thing, and I really, really appreciate it. Also, I recommend just reading Bravery if you haven't. I think it really fits perfectly for this time of year, because why not? But yeah, this is definitely a friend group that I would like to be a part of, if I could, in the fictional setting. The colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall-colored spines. Well, here you are. I kind of went with a color scheme of like red, orange, and yellow here. And also I try to make sure I show books that I have not read that I feel like would fit the fall vibe, because why not? We have a gothic horror here with The Hacienda. We have magical realism here with The Inheritance of Arcata Divina. We also have Immortal Dark, which is like a dark academia. We have young adult, but also adult sci-fi. I don't know. I feel like sci-fi is a good time for some fall, right? And then I have some 2 literary fictions right here. I don't know, I feel like these are great books to fit for like the fall vibe, and I still wished I could read, still be able to read in the fall. We shall see if I'll be able to read any of these books in the fall. Highly doubt all of them, but maybe half, maybe a few. But I think this fits for this prompt, right? Fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. I could have went with something a little bit more like Second Hill Cycle, but I kind of wanted to show this book instead. The First Binding by R. Verdi. This pretty much is it's a thick book now. Thick book. Also, for some reason, the first book in the series. Do not know why. And I am currently reading it, but this is pretty much a story where we follow a storyteller, and he's been telling all kinds of stories, but most of them come from lies. So he kind of decides to, for one person in particular, to tell the true story about himself. And this is where majority of the book takes place. It's really about him telling his life story. So this is really actively someone telling a story. Now, obviously, there's other books that could have fit with this, like The Spirit Cuts Through Water, any book in the Singing Hill cycle as well. So this is pretty much following a storyteller, but I want to go with like the First Binding for this one. Also, I feel like the color scheme for the First Binding fits more fall. The nights are getting darker. Share a dark and creepy read. I don't really have this book physically, but I would say The Honeys by Ryan Lasala. This book is definitely creepy. It's very much has culty vibes. It's very creepy. And the audiobook, I will keep talking about the audiobook, y'all. That audiobook production, the sounds of the insects buzzing and hearing those in my ears, ugh, hate that. Very much creepy. Very much dark as well. So, yes. Highly recommend if you have not checked out The Honeys by Ryan Lasala. The days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. So I do have 2 books for this one. One of them I do not own physically though. So one of them I will have to say is Outdrawn by Deanna Gray. This one is a sapphic romance. Highly recommend this one. It's not very long if I remember correctly. And it was also a very quick and easy kind of book to read. And yeah, especially if you're here for like a Rivals to Lovers kind of a romance, I definitely recommend with this one, not gonna lie. Sword Heart, on the other hand, this one is a fantasy romance, but also this book is longer. It's longer than Outdrawn, but I really had a good time though with Sword Heart. Honestly, I think you can read this like any time of the year, not quite specifically for fall, but this is a fantasy romance that takes place in the same world as like the Saint of Steel series and like the Clock Tower Wars duology. This is a book that takes place after that duology, but also before the Saint of Steel series. But I do highly recommend those. Sword Heart, if you have not checked it out. I do recommend the audiobook, because that's how I read this initially, was via audio. I do recommend it. Definitely a good time. Fall returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. Well, I have like several books for that one, not gonna lie. But to fit into the theme of like autumn though, I do have 2. I have The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez, and I have Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. Now, granted, this is the bind-up of the entire trilogy, since it is actually a first book in a trilogy, but I have been meaning to revisit Things Fall Apart so that I can even continue on with this series, because I read Things Fall Apart when I was a sophomore in high school, and I had no idea this was the first book in the series. I didn't even know this book existed until I read it in high school. So, I feel as though it's time for me to revisit this classic so that I could not only remember what I really loved about it, even though I do remember at least the basis why, but, for other reasons as well, and also to continue on with the series. And then The Vanished Birds, I really want to reread because, like, I remember just loving it, but then I don't remember not much of, like, specific details from the story itself, so I really do want to do a reread of this one, and I don't know. This one also has, like, that strong found family vibes, it's, like, Raybear as well. And yeah, also it's like kind of like a slower paced sci-fi, and I don't know, I've been into sci-fi lately, and I feel like autumn is a good time for some sci-fi, so I also want to include The Vanished Birds here as well. But that is pretty much it, y'all. That's all I really have for y'all for this book tag. If you've liked this book tag, please like it. Comment down below any of y'all's responses to any of these questions for the Finally Fall book tag. Also, is autumn your favorite season? I would assume for a lot of readers it would be, but I don't want to assume for everyone. So if autumn is not your favorite season, let me know it down in the comments down below. What is your favorite season, if you do not mind sharing? If you really like this video and you want to see more videos from me and you're new here, I recommend subscribing if you want to. And if you made it this far into the video and you're not really sure what to say, but you want to let me know you're here, leave me a fall leaf emoji down in the comments below. Anyways, thank you all for coming on to this channel, checking out my video, and I hope to see you on my next one. Bye.